Hey button pushers, Nick here, and today we're going to be taking a look at For the King on the Xbox. Last few videos I've done have been more about me testing new software and hardware, and you've been my guinea pigs basically. But today we're going to do things a little bit differently, as I just wanted to focus on some of the game's elements and general gameplay. Published a review for this earlier today. The link for that is in the description, so feel free to go ahead and read it. So first off, For the King was released on PC back in 2018 and it came out on consoles last week, and I downloaded it through Game Pass where it is currently sitting. The console version comes bundled with all of the previous DLC, so you can take on multiple different quests and mix things up to your heart's content really. There's a whole lot of customization you can do before you've even jumped into the game here, and after deciding which quest you want to go for, you can change the difficulty, which affects some of the payouts you'll receive, as well as obviously standard stuff like strength of your enemies and starting gear and stuff like that. It's basically a risk v reward kind of thing, which is something that is repeated quite a lot through the game. There's a lot of risk and reward, so I'm sure I'll probably be talking about that later on. You also have the option to choose whether you want to jump straight in solo or whether you want to go multiplayer, and that can be done either online or local couch co-op. The next step is for you to pick out your team. At the start of the game you've got 4 different character classes you can have in your team: Blacksmith, Hunter, Scholar and Minstrel. Each of them have got their own set of skills and perks and whatnot, but you can choose only 3 of them. So you'll need to play around with different combinations and figure out which one works best for you. The first couple of games that you'll play will probably just be more of an experimentation than anything else. Personally, I was doing Blacksmith, Hunter and Scholar. That seemed to work for me, but if you're the kind of person that wants to do 3 hunters, then go for it. The game also has a lore store, so you can go in and buy new characters as you unlock them throughout the game. You collect lore as you're playing through the game, which unlocks things in the store, and then you can go in and buy them if you have enough lore. The word lore has been used way too many times there. Okay, so now we're finally ready to actually step into the game itself, and depending on what quest you've chosen to go for, you'll be greeted with a little introductory paragraph into the story, and once it loads you'll be given your first set of objectives, which is normally kind of go here, do that, find that, you know, the basic start off quests. When you start things off, all 3 of your team members are going to be together in the same area, and it's completely up to you if they stay that way or not. You control each of them separately, so if you want to, you can take them off in 3 different directions. I wouldn't recommend that to begin with, because obviously if you've just got one person who's split apart from everyone else, then it just makes it very easy to get overwhelmed by the enemies and just basically destroyed. And you can't revive someone from a distance, you have to be near them to revive them. And as an added kicker, depending on the difficulty you've gone for, you have a set number of lives that are displayed as hearts at the top of the screen. That is shared across the whole team, so if one person goes down and you revive them, that's 1 of your lives gone. The 2 stipulations of the game are if your lives are gone or all 3 of your team members go down at the same time, then game over. There's a few different options you've got when you're playing the game. You can either go straight onto the main story missions, which is fine, or you can check in the villages to see if there's any side missions that are available. Completing those side missions will give you a variety of different rewards. They all seem to be randomised, so you can never really guarantee what you're going to get at the time, but they can range anything from gold to a new item, so a new weapon, new piece of armour, stuff like that, or you get the opportunity to reduce the chaos in the area. Now that's an important one, especially later on in the game, because as time goes by the chaos can start to creep up, and with higher chaos come more aggressive enemies, makes them healthier, stronger, all of that sort of stuff that you don't really want to be dealing with. As you're going about your travels, you're going to see all sorts of enemies dotted around the map, and you can choose to either take them on or try and find a way around them. The enemies you do see aren't the only things you need to worry about though. As you move around, your character may stumble across something. Can be anything from an enemy, an ambush, a dead body, a cliff, a treasure chest, a whole load of different things. It's up to you to decide what you want to do with it. You can go about your business and walk away, or you can roll the dice and try your luck. A lot of the different gameplay elements in For the King come down to chance and what they call testing your skills. Whenever a test of skill comes up, it will show you a number of icons on the screen which represent one of your stats, like strength, speed, intelligence, magic, stuff like that. And the higher your character stats are in that area, the better your chances are of a success. You can, if you want to tip the scales in your favour, spend one of your character's focus points on improving those chances, but focus, it's a limited resource, so it's just another gamble. Yep, my mic stand just fell off and made a horrible noise, but I carried on like a damn professional. If you're in a situation where you feel like you do want to pick a fight with one of the enemies, then you're free to do so at any time. All you've got to do is walk up to them and select them. This then throws up a red circle on the map that shows who's going to actually join in the fight. And that works both ways, so your team might be near you, so they're in the red circle, which means they'll all be in the fight with you, but there might be a couple of the enemy's buddies lurking behind, which means they're going to be in the fight as well. So you'll just have greater numbers to contend with, so it's just another thing to consider while you're playing the game. If you're happy with the odds and you do want to go ahead and get into it, then there's only one more choice you need to make before actually getting down to business. You can either jump straight into the fight, or you can try and ambush them. Again, it's another one of those tests of chance, so it can work, it can also not work. It's really useful if there are multiple enemies in the circle, because if you successfully pull off an ambush, then you're only going to have to fight the one instead of all of the ones that you might possibly have to face. So it's worth it, but doesn't always pay off. In fact, very rarely pays off. Now, the combat itself is a mix of turn-based combat and yet even more gambling. There's a bar at the top of the screen which shows you the attack order, and so who's going to go when, and when it's your turn you select the move you want to do, and again you have to test your skills. The higher amount of successes you get, the more damage you'll do, and the less likely it is that the attack is going to get dodged, and the same goes for the enemies. The more successes they get, the harder it is for you to dodge, the more damage they're going to do. As is the way with turn-based games, once you've been successful in your combat, hopefully been successful in your combat, you're going to receive some loot at the end of the battle, and that can range anything from gold to extra equipment and stuff like that, kind of similar to the side quests, but just without the chaos stuff. Now, this is where it's really beneficial to have the whole team together, because you have choices to make when you get the rewards. You can either split the gold between all three of them if you've got them all together, or you can choose one person to take all the gold and have it for themselves. And similarly with the items, you can, if you've got all three of them together, you can actually look at the stats then and there, see where it's best suited, and then get that person to equip it straight away. Saves having to hold on to it and then get two people together and transfer it later on. It's a time-saving measure, but it's one that's worth doing. Now finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about are the dungeons. Now, no self-respecting game is complete without them, and For the King is absolutely no exception to that rule. They've even managed to actually make them fairly unique in a few different respects, which is impressive. First of all, you really need to be sure that your team's ready for the dungeon before you go in, because once you go in, there is no coming out until you reach the other side, or your whole team die and it's game over. What makes things a little bit more complicated is that you don't actually know what awaits you in the dungeon until you actually go down and start. Once you go in the dungeon, there's a little indicator at the top of the screen that tells you roughly what's coming up, so you can see if the next thing to greet you is going to be combat or a mystery. So you can kind of brace yourself if there's more combat coming. But just because the next thing up isn't combat doesn't necessarily mean you're going to walk away unscathed. Okay, that's everything I wanted to run through with you guys. For the King is available on PC, PS4, Switch and Xbox One, and it can be downloaded through Game Pass, which is what I did. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful, or at the very least, mildly interesting. Hit the like button, subscribe, so you'll see all the gaming videos that come up. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, all the other stuff. All of the details are in the description. Thank you very much, and hit the music.